Becoming so good at guitar that people are willing to pay you to play may seem like a complicated endeavor, but it is actually not that crazy. In fact, we can create a formula to make sure that you can get there. But before you start getting intimidated by math, or have too much of an ego to even understand the formula, I'm going to remind you that we're going to go through this piece by piece with examples so that you can actually manipulate it by the end to get the results that you want. Let's look at the formula in its totality so we can see what it is that we're messing with. Mastery equals the sum of quality of practice with the quality of instruction times the product of volume and frequency minus decay. The reason why it looks complicated is because of all those symbols and all these weird words that I'm using. But I promise you, as we go through this one by one, you're going to notice, yes, these are things that you can manipulate and fix and control on your own. Let's analyze quality of instruction, and I'm going to summarize it with this particular phrase. Garbage in is garbage out. I cannot tell you how much garbage is on YouTube pertaining to guitar lessons because the YouTube algorithm does not understand effectiveness. It understands popularity and trying to keep you on the platform. I have spent countless hours fixing students who have gone onto YouTube to learn something, and the instructor has no idea how this actually works and tells the student the wrong things. It's not about learning as many songs as you possibly can. It's about understanding as many songs as you possibly can. Make sure whoever you're taking instruction from has actually done this on gigs and in recording sessions and on gigs and recording sessions that actually mattered. Playing around a campfire may be fun, but I don't want a teacher who's only played around campfires. I want a teacher who's actually done this under stress and saw that it was successful. Are your instructors doing that? Let's talk about quality of practice. Now, a lot of us are just going through motions. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is being effective in what it is that we're trying to do. So for example, if we're trying to become clearer in our chords, at the beginning of the practice session, the chord shouldn't be clear. And by the time we get to the end, the chord should be clear. Notice I've been effective. I've made sure that the quality time was spent there. Now, this can be intimidating because we can get distracted very easily or get bored. I get that, but make sure that when you start this practice session, you have a particular goal in mind and are actively trying to get there with some sort of systematic way of making yourself accountable to that goal. Let's look at volume and frequency. Although they are linked, they get confused very often, and we have to be able to control this idea. So they had two cello players. They had never played musical instruments in their life, and they had one student practice 15 minutes a day, and they had another student practice all 75 minutes on one day. So one of them is practicing 5 times a week, while the other one is practicing only 1 time a week. The person who practiced more often ended up light years better than the person who was only doing 1 time a week, although they were doing the same amount of volume. It's because the brain understands frequency a little bit more than it understands volume. If you start to practice every single day, your brain starts to think it's important, therefore it must get better at it. But does this mean that we shouldn't practice hours at a time? No, that's not what I'm talking about. It's the repetition. Some of us don't have the luxury of practicing all the time. So we just practice all of it on a Saturday. That's totally okay. Notice those are linked to each other. So as long as you're getting the reps in somehow, it's okay. Now, decay is how much time you are spending in between your practice sessions or use of a particular idea on guitar. Now, I'll give you an idea of how fast this degrades. I actually could play very, very fast, but one time I took a vacation for 1 week. I think I saw a guitar 2 or 3 times, just looked at one, but I didn't play at all. It took me 2 weeks after that vacation to get back to where I was before the vacation. That's how fast you're going to decay in your skills. Now, does that mean you have to practice everything at all times? Practice the things you want to be good at as much as you possibly can. Your brain starts to think that because you're not practicing it, there's no reason to keep those skills up. So it just starts putting things elsewhere. So make sure you're practicing as much as you can to make sure the decay stays minimal. So how can we manipulate this formula? We're all coming from completely different walks of life, and we want to make sure that we're maximizing or reaching our goals on the guitar. Well, let me explain how this formula is being worked while I was in music school. While I was in music school, I had to practice 22 hours a week minimum, and it all had to be logged. And I had classes 4 days out of the week. So I'm there a lot of time. I'm there frequently and I have a lot of volume. But I also had really good instructors. I had direct lessons from Knight Driscoll, Rob Schumann, and David Poole. But I also had classes with Bill Hart, Carl Culpepper, Steve Cunningham, and Trey Wright. I also had general instruction, meaning I'm in the room when they're teaching their students, with guys like Tom Knight and Gary Wilkins. These are world-class instructors, and they're giving me immediate feedback on what it is that I'm doing. This is invaluable. But a lot of us don't have that type of time and money. So how can we make it fit ourselves? Well, if we know we have the time, then we just put in the time. We just practice more. If we know we don't have the time, then we know we have to focus. Notice I'm manipulating the formula to fit what I'm doing. If I don't have the quality instruction, maybe I can get the quality practice time. I know at least this is going to work, so that is what I'm going to focus in on. Then I can go work on whatever it is that I need to do. Yes, a lot of us have jobs. A lot of us have families. I get it. But if we understand this formula, we can make it work for us and get to where we want to go.